good afternoon, good evening to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Global Guys podcast. My name is Tom Phillips. I am a National Alliance Manager for Safeguard Global, and alongside me is
Mark Robbins, and I'm the VP of Sales for our Global Employment Outsourcing solution in EMEA. So just to give you a quick overview of the company that we work for a company called Safeguard Global, as we both mentioned. And we have two solutions, one being an employer of record solution where we can employ people on behalf of clients that don't have local entities. And then alongside that, we have our global managed payroll service, which is a global payroll solution for companies that have headcounts in countries with entities and are looking for streamlining of their data and potential integration with their standalone HR systems.
Perfect. So what are we trying to do? We're doing over the next couple of weeks a podcast with regards to and chatting to various industry leaders, should we say, industry connections that we have to talk about them, their company, what's happening right now with them, and what's happening in the future. We're going to have a bit of fun and games, and hopefully you'll join us throughout. Hello, welcome. Great to have here two gentlemen from Sporting Index. I will let them have the platform to introduce ourselves for us today. Tell us about yourself and the company that you work for.
Yeah, cheers, Tom. Thanks for having us on. We both work for Sporting Index. The side of the company that I work for, sort of specifically, is the client-facing side. So we are historically a spread betting company. Think sort of stocks and shares, but related to sport. But we now we've sort of branched out and we offer more of a fixed odds service. So your traditional betting on sport. And the part of the company that I now work in, I've been there for 10 years, but I now work in client services. So I look after, manage, entertain our HVCs. So our high value clients, the guys that are the most loyal to us, the guys that we want to make sure we look after and keep betting with us, really, because it's a very competitive market.
I'm Jack. So I work on the sporting solutions side of the business. Essentially, our part of the business has grown based off the success of Sporting Index. So as Rob's just described there, the way that our business works in a niche way, it means that we've been able to harness some of our expertise in terms of trading and pricing, and essentially offer that as a service to operators worldwide. So that will be from a pricing perspective, so offering betting odds for a pre-match and a live service, and as well as managing the risk exposure of an operator as well. And all in all, we've blended that into a product on a whole. And you can take part of it on a granular level as well, depending on what the operator's requirements are.
Interesting. So have you guys found the industry's changed a lot with no sport on? I suppose it must have done. But how do you sort of see it at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially from my side, with no sport being on. We've had to kind of feed off the dregs, as it were, with Belarusian football being the highlight of anyone's punting week. You've had things like sort of racing in Australia, but then that's through the night, so it's tough for us. US racing has been quite interesting. That's carried on throughout the pandemic. So that's on at a decent time for punters in the UK. So sort of from 6 o'clock in the evening. So that's kept us going. But in terms of revenue and the number of bets that we're seeing for the company, and I'm sure for the industry as a whole, it's taking a real kind of kick. It's improving now, obviously, with the Bundesliga returning last weekend. French racing is proving quite popular as well. It's a bit closer to home in terms of the sort of the way it's run and the horses that are running, etc. And there are things now on the horizon, thankfully. So UK racing coming back next Monday on the 1st will be brilliant for us. You've got Irish racing a week later on the 8th. La Liga's not far behind, and that's always popular with punters and viewers alike. But really for us, the Premier League is the big thing, and at the moment that as you all know, it's proving quite a challenge to sort of come up with the right regulations and stuff in place to get it back. And for us, you know, to get that back would be huge. It's our biggest product. It's the biggest thing, you know, that people bet on. So, you know, they're looking at the end of June at the moment. I think actually they're talking about it as we speak. So fingers crossed that they can sort that out and get that back. And you know, it will be sort of getting back to business as usual, you know, as it were.
Pretty much as Rob's just said, even on a global scale, I think if anything, it's kind of proven that no matter where you are in the world at the moment, the industry is suffering as a whole. As he said, we're sort of thriving off things like Belarusian football. Table tennis has become a huge one as well. I think if you speak to most operators worldwide, they probably wouldn't have said that table tennis would make up a good 20% of their revenue at the moment. And before, it was probably a sport that wouldn't even reach the top 10. But for sure, obviously, it's beneficial that as an industry that works on a global scale, that there are certain reaches in the world where the pandemic hasn't been as bad, and therefore we have been able to maintain some sort of level of in-play sport. But for sure, everyone's suffered. You probably have a different case scenario if you're working in virtuals or casino. You've probably seen huge booms and things like poker and other bits like that. But yeah, you can definitely tell that people are really driving to get sport back, as we see in the news every day, and especially on a betting level as well.
Have you obviously, I was following the virtual F1 a little bit, which I didn't think I'd ever do. But they're all racing in simulators, and they've got the commentary, and they film it like, I don't know if you've seen it, but they film it like it's actually the Formula One, and the graphics are so good, it's almost like actually watching it.
Yeah, and I'm fairly sure that they've got a Leclerc in there as well.
Yeah, they've got loads of celebrities in it. It's like Celebrity Big Brother or something, but racing.
Yeah, it is awesome. It just goes to show that obviously people, they can find different ways of sort of reaching target audiences, and virtuals has been a way that we've been able to do that. Even with the e-Premier League stuff as well, and getting Premier League footballers to represent their teams playing FIFA. All these kind of little tournaments that has some sort of reach to the general audience for sport.
The virtual Grand National was kind of the same as well. I think
Exactly,
so many people. It was, you know, it was really quite near the start of the pandemic, and a couple of weeks in with no sport on, I think people actually tuned in. I ended up being part of about 3 different
sweepstakes.
Yeah, right there again. Yeah, so I got involved with 3 different sweepstakes. You know, just on the virtual Grand National. So there was still a lot of interest. You know, people love sport. It doesn't matter what level it is, and you know, to get it back on our TVs will just be huge for everyone, and of course, you know, for our industry, you know, specifically, it'll be massive.
Yeah, definitely will be, and you know, has a massive sports enthusiasts. Yeah, I completely agree. So from both your views, and especially the different areas that you guys cover, have you taken this time now to think about how sort of a new business strategy, you know, how you potentially go to market? Rob, obviously with you in the UK and in Irish sort of market, and Jack obviously on the global side of things. Has your strategy changed with regards to bringing in new punters or putting on different events for people to bet at? What's, you know, how's that potentially changed?
Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, with the core of what I do being hospitality, it's going to be really tough, and we're going to have to be clever in the ways that we come up with sort of new ways of, you know, meeting and sort of entertaining existing clients, but also, as you say, kind of try and recruit new ones. And you know, yeah, we're going to have to be inventive. I can't see anyone at a sporting event on a large scale until next year at the earliest. I mean, you know, and that's being kind of quite positive, I think, really. So in terms of things like that, it's going to be really hard. You know, when sort of restaurants or bars maybe open up on a social distancing, you know, with the social distancing restrictions in place, then potentially we can, you know, sort of, you know, do some kind of hospitality within those whilst the TVs are on with the sport that we would normally be at entertaining clients. We could do that. The golf course is proving a great place to entertain people, and that's right up my street. So that's absolutely, yeah, that's fine. And I did my first bit of sort of client entertaining yesterday on the golf course, which was great, and that will carry on. But yeah, in terms of, you know, it's tough. It's really tough, and I think the key is actually to look at what we can do, be innovative, but we've also got to remain careful in the industry, because at times like this, things go under the spotlight even more heavily. And in terms of the regulations before the pandemic sort of came in, you know, people were being squeezed. We were having to sort of really be careful with the way that we market stuff, the way that we kind of, you know, look after clients, the way that we try and attract new clients, and the bets we're taking. So, and that's going to be even more so now. It's going to come under more scrutiny because, you know, people are more vulnerable because of what's going on. There's, you know, economically and every other way, emotionally, mentally. And so I think as much as you've got to go forward and look at ways of trying to, you know, entertain and attract new customers, you've got to do it responsibly, because otherwise, you know, you're going to get in a lot of trouble, and it's just not the right thing to do.
And I mean, from our perspective, it's an industry that generally thinks on its feet. It's quite innovative in the way that when changes do happen, they react to them fairly quickly. For me, a lot of it is going out, pretty much like Rob. It's going out and meeting people face to face, building relationships, looking for long-term partnerships through business. For us, that would be usually for me to go to trade shows. So that's something that I haven't really done yet this year. Usually I'd probably have been to 5-6 trade shows by now. And they've generally moved to sort of like virtual sort of ways to do it. So the trade show hosts developing like an online trade show where people can go in, listen to talks, have discussions with people. But it doesn't really still have the same impact of obviously going face to face and meeting people. In terms of strategy, the benefit for us is that we always think long term rather than short term. In terms of any sort of developmental work would generally be something that we would do over a long period of time. And for us, like most of the industry at the moment, is looking to move into the newly regulated US market. Obviously, state by state, things are legalizing, so we're always looking sort of a year to 18 months down the line as to when the next legalization happens in a certain state. So for us, from that aspect, it's been okay that we've still been able to work on that. But the short-term stuff, like introducing new races, new tracks, so like Rob said, Australian racing, little things like that, just to improve the service overall to ensure that we're meeting customer requirements has been key. But we are fortunate that, like probably most in the industry, most think long-term rather than short-term.
Yeah, and going back on that sort of that idea, you know, with all the sport that's been cancelled or postponed this year, I think if you're going to look at it positively, it might not be in the same way that you know we would hope, but 2021 is going to be a ridiculous year for sport if things do kind of recover and we can do it, even if it is behind closed doors. I mean, the Euros have moved there. You've got a Lions tour next year. Potentially the Cricket World Cup, which was due to be towards the end of this year, might move to the next year. The Ryder Cup, I can't see that happening behind closed doors, so move that a year. I mean,
Olympics as well.
Ashes tour at the end of the year. I mean, it's just going to be, it's something that I'm sure most people in the world will absolutely sort of look forward to with a lot of kind of optimism, because it could be a real kind of year. Oh, and the Olympics. Sorry, yeah, of course, the Olympics as well. I mean, it's just going to be huge. So, sport as a whole is going to have a great year, and obviously for our industry, you would expect that it would help to sort of help us sort of recover from what's happened this year with a bumpy year of sport to follow.
Yeah, that'd be amazing if you got the Olympics and all the football, the racing, the motor racing, everything. It's just going to be...
it's crazy how much sport there could be.
Yeah, looking forward to that. So moving on to some slightly more fun questions. So starting with you, Rob. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Well, clearly, other than being a professional golfer, which, as Tom and Jack both know, was never, ever going to happen. I've always liked the idea of working for a sports agency and being one of those kind of, like the super sports agents like that you have for football and stuff. And, working in those circles would be quite interesting. And, the lifestyle that they lead and the people that they work for and the deals that they do, I think that's quite a lucrative and attractive career that I could quite see myself doing.
Interesting.
Mine would probably have been similar to Rob to start with. I had aspirations of wanting to be a professional golfer, but then when I realised I couldn't dedicate like 10 hours a day as a 10-year-old because I had other interests, that fell short, to be honest. But no, I always had young ambitions. I wanted to go into TV. I always wanted to be on something like Sky Sports News, some sort of presenter, working in the sports industry. And I fell into sport, luckily, as it is, but in a different avenue. So, but yeah, TV was an interest for me.
He's certainly got the face for it, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Unlike me and you, Tom.
Thanks. No, but very interesting. You'll be pleased to know, Rob, golf wasn't one that I would have chosen.
Thank God for that.
So, now we do have a bit of a similarity on one person that people pick here, but who would you say, and this could be anybody from family right away through to sports stars to authors or what have you, who would you say that three people that have been influential during your career or your development?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of kept it close to home in terms when I was thinking about this, and the team that I work in now, there's only three of us. So I've got my boss, Chief, who I know, obviously Jack knows, and Tom you've met, and our colleague Butch. They have been in the industry for 25 plus years, and Chief has been at Sporting Index for 20, and I've worked in the team now for 4 years. I've been at the company for 10, but worked in their team for 4 years, and just sort of them passing on their knowledge of Sporting Index and our clients and sort of changes that have gone on from trading to marketing, etc. Is incredible to have that insight, and then just the insight into the industry as a whole, especially when it comes to some of the kind of higher level contacts that we have, and they have that I've been able to sort of enjoy as well, and it's just really kind of helped my career and meeting people and being in the right places and kind of the networking skills that they have is passing on to me and that, and then also, and again potentially very close to home, but potentially an obvious one, again, you've met him, Tom, but my dad, he was in the police for 20 years and then moved out to set up his own company, and without going into too much detail of what he does, a lot of it is based around networking, getting out and about, meeting people, introducing people, and I feel like I've sort of grown up, watching him do what he does, and hopefully picking up some of the skills and going to some of the way of being as good as he is at what he does, just with the people sort of skills that he has, and as I said, the networking skills and the opportunities that he has and that he quite often passes on to me in terms of the people that I get to sort of socialize with that definitely benefit my career and the role that I do now.
Mine again, fairly similar, but I would definitely start with my parents. Their stepdad's owned his own business throughout his entire life. He's been with my mum since the age of I was 3 or 4. I watched him grow the business, and then equally when the financial crash of 2008, everything disappeared. And then to watch him obviously pick himself up and go completely again and get to the level that he was at previously at and above that. It was great to have that role model in my life where you could see determination and someone that worked hard to get what they wanted. And in terms of a business sense, there's tons of people that I could reel off at Solutions and Spin. Generally, everyone that's there has been there a long time, which is credit to the company. It shows that people do enjoy working there. Like Rob said, like Chief, for example, has been there from the beginning. Our CEO's been there from the beginning. And also just to see where the senior figures are in the business now and where they started. I mean, they started at like very basic level entry level jobs. And just to give you the continuous support that you can come into the business at a low level, like I did, like Rob did, and work our way up through the system and be given that opportunity to do so with the support as well is a great testament to the business.
Yeah, I would massively echo that. I mean, as Jack said, you look across the business and the majority of the people that are now in senior positions have literally come from the bottom to work their way to the top, from being traders on the trading floor doing, God knows what sport, to being CEO, to being chief, to being the guys that are, now running the business is testament to them, but it's testament to the company that we work for and how they look after and like to promote within. And I think, as Jack said, it's an enjoyable place to work. because of that, because there's that loyalty to the brand and to, you know, the people that we are surrounded by daily are, you know, people that have been there for a long time.
Interesting. Dad has been our number one. Every single person we've had on has said their dad is there. Even the first one they've mentioned has definitely been in the top 3.
There we go.
Cool. So, talking about guys, our last question, sort of tying back to the name of the podcast. Who is your favourite global guy? So it can be anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I had quite a good think about this, and even kind of a little discussion this morning with, put your hand down, Tom. I had a discussion this morning with Jack just to sort of clear up where you wanted us to go with this one. But
Anywhere.
Absolutely. So being a bit of a geography geek as a kid, and I had studied geography at university, I've always sort of been into that kind of stuff. So someone like Sir David Attenborough would probably be my choice. The guy is obviously an absolute legend. You know, still gracing our TV screens at 90, whatever he is, and obviously passing on his wealth of knowledge about the natural world is just, you know, it's invaluable, isn't it? I mean, it's incredible, and obviously the way he's sort of developed his presenting skills and the stuff that he's presenting on, and even now kind of, you know, dictating policies of governments across the world with, you know, on the back of some of his programs, you know, with the plastics in the ocean stuff and you know, global warming or climate change, and yeah, I mean, the guy is just a hero, and yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with my sentiments on him. He's probably one of the most popular men in the world, I think. So yeah, he would be mine.
I have to go with the man known as Mr. Worldwide, Pitbull. That's what I have to say, really. Mr. Worldwide, he's global.
That is a very unexpected shout and very interesting. So, yeah.
The problem is Rob's kind of gone for the best guy, and I know that if I say anyone else, someone will have a problem with whoever that is in some aspects. But Attenborough is an all-round great guy. I think universally you can say that David Attenborough is the global guy, really. But yeah, it would be tough for me to say anyone without someone having an issue with a particular person.
We've had some very varied ones. Mark was voted first week, and then we've had Obama, we've had Donald Trump. So it's been it's been very varied with regards to just being fascinating people that people follow and entertainment. So
how'd you go from Obama to Trump on this? I mean, that's like one extreme to the other, isn't it?
It is, but
I hope they weren't on the same podcast.
Yeah,
no, they weren't. Well, guys, thank you ever so much for joining us today. For those of you that are watching, listening, you can obviously hear and see this on our YouTube channel, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, now on Spotify and our own podcast channel. So for those guys that are tuning in, Rob and Jack's details will be on the below details. Please look at sportingindex.com if you are interested in responsible betting and having a look at what they do. Then yeah, please get in touch. But on behalf of one half of the Global Guys, Rob and Jack, thank you ever so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you for having us. It's been
thank you for having us, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.